Welcome to another episode of Just My Opinion Podcast, episode 36. Episode 36, how you living? I'm living swell. We're live in effect on this Tuesday morning. We got a lot of things to talk about, so I'm going to run it down. But the main topic that we're going to talk about, and I'm not going to be on this live too long, is the possibility of Erin Andrews leaving Fox Sports and the possibility of ESPN signing her. Now, for those who've been living under a rock, allow your boy to explain. I explained to you guys, I feel like a couple of weeks ago, that there was a rumor that was floating around that Troy Aikman was going to leave Fox Sports and be the new host of Monday Night Football for ESPN, and also ESPN Monday Night Football will go back to ABC. And I talked about how when they transferred Monday Night Football to ESPN, the ratings, that was one of the reasons why the ratings were struggling. The struggle was real with the ratings with Monday Night Football. It wasn't necessarily the product on the field. It was exclusively only broadcasting on ESPN. Not to mention the fact that they had a flurry of interesting people hosting and co-hosting Monday Night Football, and they crashed and burned. Now there have been a couple of bright spots here and there. I feel like Booger is doing a phenomenal thing on Monday Night Football as the sideline reporter, and just the guy who's just a fill-in. But I still feel like they need an identity in Monday Night Football, and they've been trying to find that identity for Monday Night Football for quite some time now. They have experimented with different people and different hosts and things of that nature. And Troy Aikman is going to be the new host of Monday Night Football. And I feel like that is I feel like that's the right choice for ESPN to do, because ESPN has been trying to find someone to fill those shoes. And I think they found that person in Troy Aikman. Now, there are pros and cons with Troy Aikman. I feel like the biggest pro in signing Troy Aikman and allowing Troy Aikman to host Monday Night Football, he's more of an identified name for casual fans and hardcore fans. People who dabble in football and only really watch football when the Super Bowl is running. I feel like Troy Aikman is a household name. That's the point I'm trying to make. I also feel like Troy Aikman really loves football. He's a hardcore fanatic football fan himself. And he's a huge historian of the Museum of Football. And he was around when Monday Night Football was in its glory, in the glory days, so to say. So he knows how big of a stage Monday Night Football is, and them putting it back on prime time on ABC instead of ESPN, I feel like that is going to benefit Monday Night Football. And Troy Aikman being the new host of Monday Night Football is also going to benefit that rating-wise and popularity and things of that nature. Now, Troy Aikman also stated, and there's a lot of insiders who are familiar with this move, have stated that Troy Aikman is going to bring some people along that used to work for Fox Sports. And one of the speculations is Erin Andrews. Now, there is no concrete proof or evidence out there that Erin Andrews is going to make her way to ESPN. I'm pretty sure she's going to check out what's out there out there in the hemisphere on the table. I know the big hitters are going to offer her a contract, such as ESPN, Amazon. Now, remember, Amazon was really trying to, and I forgot his name, and I apologize, the head coach for the Los Angeles Rams. Amazon was really heavy into signing him. Now, of course, he went back to being the coach of the Los Angeles Rams, but that money is still there, and Amazon is really trying to make a splash in sports entertainment. So you got Amazon, you got the ESPN, you got ESPN, who's going to pitch heavily for Erin Andrews because she's a household name. She's very knowledgeable about the sport, and she has done a phenomenal job for Fox Sports. But to me, this just shows, and I've been stating this for a long, long time to you guys, and a lot of people are not giving me my flowers, but I'm going to give my flowers today. That if retrospect, when you look at Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports, when Fox Sports hired a lot of former ESPN hosts and analysts trying to make a splash, trying to, when they had a rating war with ESPN, I was front and center telling you guys when they signed Colin Cowherd, when they signed Colin Cowherd, they also signed Rob Parker, they also signed Skip Bayless. They was purging the ESPN farm system because ESPN, the struggle was real with ESPN. They had to cut back salary and let go of a lot of their talent. And Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports purged a lot of that talent. Okay. Chris Carter, I forgot about him. And I was telling people back then, these are good moves, but in the long term, they're not going to be very good long-term successful moves because what I'm about to mention, unless Fox Sports or Fox Sports 1, whoever you want to give the credit to, it's still the same entity in my opinion. Unless they get all of the broadcasting market, unless they're everywhere, they're not going to beat ESPN because ESPN at that time and still to this day in 2022 is in more households than Fox Sports or Fox Sports 1. They're still in more households, folks. And that was the point I was making. Yes, these are good moves. These moves show that they're serious as far as being competition, and competition is good when you're competing against ESPN. But long term, these moves are not going to be the end all and be all as far as them being in more households than ESPN. Still to this day, ESPN is in more households than Fox Sports or Fox Sports 1. And if you look at the landscape and look what they have done after those signings, they too, Fox Sports 1, have been letting go of talent or talent not re-signing to Fox Sports 1 or Fox Sports. So they're losing talent. Fox Sports isn't the big brand that a lot of people hoping it could have been. Even ESPN with their struggling ratings and their struggle as far as being successful on ESPN Plus, the moves they have made on their popular shows, such as First Take, even with all the trip ups and slip ups that ESPN has created on themselves, Fox Sports 1 still, Fox Sports or Fox Sports 1 still haven't taken the reins when it comes to being in more households. They're still in, ESPN is still in more households than Fox Sports or Fox Sports 1. That was the point I was always making and clarifying, and it's affecting the business of Fox Sports and Fox Sports 1. A lot of their iconic signature broadcasters and analysts are going elsewhere. Now, there's a third layer to this, and I've stated this on live streams and on videos and on social media. I just don't, ever since COVID hit, sports entertainment has been taking a nosedive, and they still haven't recovered. Now, the music industry, they found ways and they're recovering. The film industry, they found ways during the COVID nightmare, and they are recovering. But when you talk about sports entertainment has not recovered. Okay. And on top of that, the possibility of Major League Baseball, the possibility of them striking this year, the NBA is struggling because their iconic team they normally promote their iconic players such as Kevin Durant, LeBron James, the Golden State Warriors, they're all struggling. The ones that get the ratings are struggling. And the product, the brand of basketball that they've been advertising, it has turned off a lot of fans. Not to mention, a lot of fans are still turned off by this notion that the players run the organization. So you got the NBA that has a PR. They have a PR problem with fans and the perspective of basketball. You got the possibility of Major League Baseball striking, and you just got the NFL, who just now recovered from their ratings woes. And the NFL, a lot of personalities, particularly with broadcasting exclusively for football or the NFL, you have seen a lot of those analysts and those hosts have moved elsewhere. Erin Andrews is a huge name, and a lot of companies are going to promote the bag to her. They have no problem giving her the bag, because look at her resume, look at her track record. Not to mention the fact she's very knowledgeable and she's very attractive. She fits the mold. She's the it. So the possibility of ESPN stealing Erin Andrews away from Fox Sports or Fox Sports 1 is a real one, folks. And if ESPN gets Troy Aikman, if they get Troy Aikman and Erin Andrews on top of Joe Buck, if they get that tandem to Monday Night Football is going to go back to its glory days. Now, I talked about pros and cons about Troy Aikman. And I talked about the pros about having Troy Aikman to Fox Sports. But here are the cons. Troy Aikman is not an animated type of broadcaster. All right. His talent isn't being witty, being charismatic, none of that. He have his nose into the grindstone, and he gives you facts and stats. You don't get all of that other stuff being funny, being interesting, saying witty things. He's a social media darling. You're not going to get none of that from Troy Aikman. What you see is what you get from Troy Aikman. And that's fine. As long as you have people around Troy Aikman that can deliver that to the casual fans. The casual fans, even though they know Troy Aikman, are going to be, stuck in the translation of Troy Aikman. But as long as you have people that's working alongside Troy Aikman, like an Erin Andrews, a Joe Buck, a Booger, if they still going to keep him. And another funny guy, this can really turn very successful for ESPN, their new Monday Night Football crew. So Erin Andrews, the possibility of her if she goes to ESPN, that's going to be the difference maker, folks. I think it's game over for Fox. All the goodwill that they have done in the past 3 or 4 years is going to be thrown out the window. And that's another reason why they haven't turned the switch on a lot of things. Okay. They wanted to be controversial, so they hired Jason Whitlock. Remember earlier, they wanted to be more controversial. The old management, they hired Jason Whitlock, they hired Colin Cowherd, they hired Rob Parker. They hired those types of Skip Bayless. They wanted to be more controversial. They wanted to be like Fox News. We report, you decide. They wanted to be in that territory. That was the old guard. Now the old guard is gone. And now the new guard is the new regime. And the new regime don't identify to a lot of these hires that the old guard signed up for. The first casualty was Chris Carter. Chris Carter, the new guard couldn't identify with Chris Carter. They consider Chris Carter a threat. And that's one of the reasons why that relation went fragile and it went sour. And unfortunately, it went out on a bad note. They had to escort him out the building. He's got banana boxes of his private things, and had to be escorted by a security guard. All because Chris Carter didn't like the direction the new guard was going to do with Fox Sports. He wanted to do more football games, and at that time they had Rob. Oh my God, the tight end for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Rob Gronkowski. I think I'm butchering his name. And they were really promoting him, bigging him up, and wanted him to do things for Fox Sports 1 and for Fox Sports. Chris Carter was more seasonal. He did his bid. He did his time with Fox Sports and Fox Sports 1. And he thought in the back of his mind that he done all this goodwill. He did all this sacrificing that they was going to nominate him, but they didn't. And the rest, they say, is history with Chris Carter. If you've been noticing and if you've been watching and paying attention to Fox Sports 1, they have been less controversial. Colin Cowherd is not saying off the wall comments. He's been kind of balancing what he can. He's not trying to go into the deep end and being very controversial. If you look at Rob Parker, he has toned down a lot as well. Even Skip Bayless. Now, Skip Bayless still has his takes and his thoughts and his opinions about LeBron James and his passion for the Dallas Cowboys, but he hasn't said any eye-opening, I'm trying to be controversial here moments. Now, Doug Gottlieb is different, and I feel like he's been, for the past couple of months, dipping his toes into controversy. Him and Rob Parker had words, and Rob Parker blocked him. Acho had words with Doug Gottlieb. So he's been dipping into controversy, but I feel like that's the exception to the rule, because in retrospect, when you look at what they're doing with Doug Gottlieb, I think I'm butchering his last name. I apologize. He's more, you hear him more on the radio than on television. He's not a co-host or a host on any of their television programs, okay? And I feel like in radio, you can be a little controversial, and they don't have him in their bigger markets. You don't really see Doug or know what he says on their bigger programs, such as the Herd or Undisputed. And he's never, when Colin Cowherd is on vacation, or when Skip and Shannon is on vacation, he's not hosting any of those primetime shows that gets the biggest numbers and the biggest ratings. You may see him on Speak for Yourself, but he's been guest hosting or filling in for the Dan Patrick Show, but that's different. But when you look at what Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports have done, this new regime has a different identity, and they're not promoting this let's go into the dark matter, or let's go into controversial topics, or say something controversial, or shock value type of media. They want to be more a traditional sports network, and they feel like that's the way how you can compete against or alongside ESPN, because they tried the other way, and the other way did not work. It didn't garner them being in more households. So as far as, and I feel like all of these moves have been sort of, I wouldn't say necessarily failures, but step backs. And Fox Sports 1 has to reconfigure and redo business in a different way and in a different pattern. And I feel like it explains a lot of reasons why Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports has been stale. As far as it explains why Shannon Sharpe has not signed a long-term contract with Fox Sports or Fox Sports 1. It explains why they have been losing talent themselves. It explains why they haven't won or beaten ESPN in quite some time in the rating wars. And it explains how they have to change management on how they foresee business in the long term. Hold on. So that's what's going on. Also in other news, not Michelle Beadle, but Rachel Nichols is a free agent, and she is interviewing for jobs. I think ESPN is done with her, even though there's a small chance and a small possibility of her returning to ESPN. I really do. Okay, I don't think Fox Sports or Fox Sports One would sign Rachel Nichols, because even though they do basketball, they don't have like a countdown show similar to ESPN and TNT. I feel like the two places where you possibly would see her back in sports entertainment is one, I could see her on NBA TV or NBA radio. I feel like that's the best logical landing spot for Rachel Nichols. I feel like the second place you could possibly see her is Turner Sports. Maybe being a sideline reporter. You know, it really feels on how that decision is really up to her. How humbling she basically will be starting all over, folks, because she's not gonna be on their inside the NBA being a host there. She can be like a sideline reporter, and they have a lot of reporters ahead of her that's doing extraordinary things, male and female. So it's going to be an uphill climb for her to even be a sideline reporter for primetime games. Okay. So I feel like the logical landing spot for Rachel Nichols is NBA radio or NBA TV. I feel like they're the same corporation. And that's another thing that Fox Sports and Fox Sports One need to discuss. And I'm pretty sure they're probably not even discussing this. They should merge the two identities, Fox Sports and Fox Sports One. I feel like it should be all one network. And I feel like the talent over there at Fox Sports and the talent over there at Fox Sports One, they should do a lot of collaborations and things. And they have sprinkled every once in a while, but not often. Okay. The same with Fox Sports Radio. Now, fun fact, Fox Sports Radio, there was a possibility of Irvin Magic Johnson buying Fox Sports Radio, because Fox Sports Radio isn't in bed with Fox Sports One. It's like another entity. And I feel like that's one of the biggest problems with Fox Sports, Fox Sports One, Fox Radio. It's not one identity like ESPN. Yes, the name, there's ESPN Radio, there's ESPN Plus, there's ESPN, ESPN2. I understand the many labels ESPN has, but it's still all under one umbrella, ESPN. It'll say ESPN presents ESPN2 or ESPN presents ESPN Radio. Okay, it's all one identity, and I feel like that's one of the things they need to have in their meetings, is merging everything together over there at Fox. It should be all one thing. It shouldn't be three different things owned by three different entities or three different people. Okay, so that's one thing they need to work on. So that's all I got for this episode. I hope you guys liked it. Rate, comment, subscribe, support this. Share it with your friends, family, and followers. If you want to become a member, there's a join membership button down below. It's your boy, the host with the most. I'm up out of here. I'll talk to you guys later. Deuces.